All right, welcome back to Music Rankings, Reviews, and More. And today, this is going to be our top 15 from the 2000s. So this was a tough list, at least for me personally, because I kind of knew some, but towards the end of the list, like the 13 through 15 spots just kept changing constantly. And it was also tough because honestly, I'm just not a huge fan of this decade. But mainly like mainstream wise, a lot of my stuff on here isn't that mainstream. Like it was like there's either like obscure stuff or like somewhat mainstream stuff, or like, yeah. So I'm just not a huge fan of this decade because the mainstream stuff, a lot of it really sucks balls in my opinion. But like there is some good mainstream stuff, of course. Like I can't be completely biased. But this was still like a really good list and like for me, and I'm sure your guys' list will be pretty good as well because obviously there's at least 15 from an entire 10 years worth of
Yeah.
music that you can find. So
Of course.
Mhm. Yeah, no, there were a lot of albums I really liked, and I had a tough time creating it.
same.
All of these 15 I like, and not there are a couple that are mainstream. But most of them are not because most of the best stuff wasn't super
I
popular, but it
agree.
wasn't super like underground either. It's that in between. So
Yes,
I kind of have a
exactly. The
mix of
in-between
both.
stuff is like the cream of the in-between stuff for me was the cream of the crop for this decade, kind of,
For
or
me, it
like
was mainly just the underground stuff, but some in between stuff was pretty good too.
yeah, I agree. If I had to choose between underground and very popular for this decade, I'd probably go with the underground option just because I
Well,
really don't care for
most
a lot of
very
the
popular
stuff.
stuff in the rock genre was actually all of it was terrible. It was either new
It was
metal,
like,
pop punk, or post grunge. Three of
yes, and I don't like any of those.
and those could easily be interchanged as the worst genre in rock. So that should be
That's a
yeah,
enough
good
points.
point. All right, so we're starting off with 15. Just, norms here. Like, let's try to keep our discussions kind of relatively short. But besides that point, 15, yeah, this kept changing so much for me. But coming in at 15, I know Ryan Christoph will not have this. I guarantee you Nick will, though. From 2001, this is Blackwater Park by Opeth. Um, so is probably not my favorite by them, if I had to say. The reason it's on here, though, is because my favorite by them was probably in the 90s, I would have to say, or 2010s. I don't know which I'd say for that. But this is just a weaker decade, so it ended up, for me at least, it's a weaker decade, so it ended up making this list. But this is still a great album, I think. It has like a lot of that
Yes, it
heavier
is.
stuff that you can like headbang to, and just like, when you're angry, it
So,
definitely works in that favor.
I
most
100% approve of
definitely.
your pick.
And then what I was going to continue to say is they also like had some of the like more slower stuff. Still wasn't as common yet as like obviously they would bring in like later albums and decades and stuff. But it's definitely a very nice listen, I will say. So that's why it ended up at 15. I think
I
it
approve.
changed spots a lot though. Yeah.
and so number 15, I went back and forth between a couple of ones. I did have Ozzy's 2001 album here, but then I just changed it because there's another album I like better that I almost forgot about. And coming in at number 15, I have Transatlanticism
I
by Death
don't
Cab
know
for
how I knew it
Cutie
was that.
from 2003. It's a great album. It's not their best. It's not even their best from this decade. Um, but the album cover is super cool. Title and registration, the new year. I really, A Death of an Interior Decorator. There's a lot of ones I really, really like on this one. Sound of Settling. It's just a great album for sure. Not even my usual kind of vibe, but it's a great album. It's fantastic.
Nice. It's a pretty good album. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no bad songs on it for me.
No, it's not. No, none of my albums in my top 15 have bad songs on them. I don't think.
Well, yeah. I don't think
Well,
for
maybe
me
like
either, but I
one,
guess we'll
but it's up
see.
there. Yeah,
Nice. I also approve of that pick. So, Christoph.
I think you would.
All right. So number 15, I have Bleed American by Jimmy Eat World. So yes, this is pop punk. I will have more to come. So sue me, whatever. So this is like a bit of a different style. It's a
Okay,
lot
I
less.
will.
It's a lot less aggressive than like a lot of pop punk, and like the vocals are more like clean sounding. I like pop punk, but I can admit like a lot of the vocalists, you kind of can't understand them. But like
Yes.
I
For
like
shit.
the vocals are like cleaner. You can understand them better. I mean, also like a lot of pop punk
That's
bands, they
good.
kind of just like scream sing, so that's whatever. But yeah, and then so my favorites are the middle. I love this song. It's very nostalgic, and I could listen to it over and over. And then also
Classic. Yeah.
Bleed
Yeah, that's a
American
great
is a very
song.
good song, and then Sweetness, and then If You Don't Don't. The rest of the album is also pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will
Nice.
say they would never be on my list. However, I actually will say I do approve because they're one of the pop punk bands I don't despise. So
Yeah, I just
there
got
you
into
No,
go.
I
them
don't
And
recently.
despise them.
also,
I don't like them. I don't
like
despise
you
them.
said, the middle's obviously a great song, classic. So you can't
Yeah,
go wrong there.
yeah, I just like listened
Yeah.
to
Nice.
the full album recently, so yeah.
At number 15, I have Black Holes and Revelations by Muse. My
Great album.
favorite Muse album by not very much, but it's still very Absolution almost made it. But it's a great album. That's some of my favorites. I just think it's a bit less consistent than Absolution. Anyways, my favorite songs are obviously Starlight's Gray, Supermassive Black Hole's amazing. Pretty much most of the album's very good. Invincible's good too. Knights of I forgot to pronounce it.
Sidonia.
Sidonia, yeah. It's a great
Yeah.
album.
Mm-hmm.
This is usually not my style, but
Yeah, same.
Muse does it well. One of the yeah,
Some
I
of the
understand
finest
that
musicians of our modern day.
yeah, I mean, I get that Matt Bellamy's vocals are definitely not for everyone. That's definitely an acquired taste, but I do like them a lot.
I like his
Nice.
vocals a lot personally, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, from 2003, this is Give Up by the Postal Service. Funny enough, I'm going to see them in concert later this year in October. This album, like I knew one of the songs for this for like years because Such Great Heights comes on the radio every now and then, which is a great, electronic pop tune, one of my favorites for the genre, but I hadn't listened to the full album until like probably recently, but the full album is really good. I will say the main hit single is probably still my favorite because I just think it's so done well. Um, but the whole album really is good, I think. And it's a very unique sounding album. Um, yeah, so and Ben Gibbard's on vocals, so you can't go wrong there. So
True.
That's true. Coming in at number 14 for me, I really wanted to put this album higher, and I just couldn't because there's a lot of albums I really like, and this is my 8th favorite by the band, I think.
oh damn.
Uh, we have Revelation by Journey.
I
Oh,
approve.
nice.
Yeah, great
Nice.
album. My favorites are What I Needed, After All These Years, Like a Sun Shower, Never Walk Away. There's a lot of really good songs on here. Yeah, it's a great, really solid album, and I wish I could have put it higher, but being in my top 15 means I really love it, so
Nice. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, it is my 8th favorite, so
Yeah, it's my eighth favorite as well, but spoiler alert,
um,
it did make my list, but you'll have to see where.
Yeah, me
nice.
Nice.
too. So, number
Yeah, okay.
14, I have W.E.T by W.E.T, or shortened just like Wet. Basically, this is a great melodic hard rock band. It's a supergroup with members from Work of Art, Eclipse, and Talisman. That's why it's called Wet, because the first letter of each of those other melodic rock bands. So, basically, it's a really good album. It's very melodic, has very smooth sounding, powerful vocals and drumming, great synth, really melodic guitar playing, and it's just really good. And also, Jeff Scott Soto is on this album. That's how I discovered it. And my favorite songs are "If I Fall," "Invincible," and "One Love."
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. So at number 14, I know Cyrus will definitely be surprised this is not much higher considering a year ago I was obsessed with this band and album. It's White Pony by Deftones.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I
Again,
still do like this album a lot, and I still do like Deftones a lot, but like re-listening to the whole thing, I'm like, did I really like this much? That much? I'm surprised because it definitely has a few skips. Still a great album though.
yeah,
Passengers, an amazing song. What's it called? Knife Party is one of my favorite Deftones songs. Digital Bath, obviously. Change, obviously, like great songs. But
yeah.
I do
No, I
find
don't
it to
feel
be
like
a
it.
little repetitive at times, and yeah, I still love it a lot. That's why it's in my top 15. But it's definitely gone down from in my rankings.
Nice.
Nice. I get
Yeah.
that. It happens.
So moving on to 13 spot from 2002. It's a pretty common year for my list, just FYI, but it is the first one that has
Agreed.
been on my list. Yeah, probably my favorite year of the 2000s. Just there was actually quite a bit that I like in that. So this is Songs for the Deaf from Queens of the Stone Age. This is probably my favorite. No, it is my favorite album by them. It has their big hit "No One Knows," which is a kick-ass song, but it has a lot of other great songs. The only reason this didn't get higher because there are some great hits and some great deep cuts that are almost as good as the hits. I just think that there are a couple skips. Like there's some like short there's some short instrumentals on here that just don't quite do it. Like they definitely work well in the context of an album, but they don't like you can't listen to them on your own. You're not gonna like queue up the song and be like play this next because you're just not gonna do that. But
Mhm.
overall, like what gets it higher is the hit songs off of here, which I don't usually like hit songs from the 2000s, but that's saying something. And then also the phenomenal deep cuts as well. But there's just like some songs on here that you can definitely skip and just don't need to hear. So,
Nice. I realized
Nice.
making this list that 2002 and 2004 are my favorites, and maybe 2008, like those three are my favorites. And I have
hmm.
an album on here for every year but 2001. So
Oh, I already had 2001, but yeah, nice.
yeah, my birth year. No, I did. One almost made it. Anyway, coming in at number 13, we have an album I absolutely love, "Angel Down" by Sebastian Bach. It's a solo one. The reason I discovered this is Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses did some songs with him on the
Oh,
record. He
yeah, I
also
heard about that.
They also did a song together on Chinese Democracy too. Sorry. And it's a fantastic album. It's a lot more metal than I'm used to from either of them, but it's really cool. I really like all the songs they do together. "Back in the Saddle" cover, "Love is a Bitch Slap," "Stuck Inside," and and "Falling Into You" is another one. One of my favorite slow songs of all time, "By Your Side," is on this album. So it's a fantastic album.
Nice.
Number 13, probably not going to like this pick. Actually, not probably, you won't. But, anyways, I have
Oh
Infinity on
no.
High by Fall Out Boy. So, this album was actually better than I realized. So,
Cyrus,
anyways, originally
sorry, try not to interrupt, Cyrus.
I was gonna have From Under the Cork Tree
So,
here, but like I like the top songs in that one, but it wasn't as consistent, and I found this to be more consistent. And this has some pretty good top songs too, in my opinion. And my favorites are "Thanks for the Memories" and "Hum Hallelujah" and "This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race."
Nice. I do like "Thanks for the Memories." That song's okay,
It's one of
but
my favorite Fall Out Boy songs. Yeah.
Wait, this
nice.
isn't the one with Sugar We're Going Down,
No,
right?
that's From Under the Cork Tree, which I didn't put because it's not as consistent. So
Oh,
What I was gonna say
nice.
is I don't really like pop or pop punk, but I
yeah,
respect the
I
pick.
know.
It's just not something I personally listen to.
No, that's
Yeah.
understandable.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they're not putting like Nickelback on your list, we're good.
Yeah, that's or Creed.
Yeah, at number 13, I know none of you probably know this album or band. I have Black Seeds of Vengeance by Nile. Nile spelled like the river. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, this is a great technical brutal death metal album. Not to be confused with brutal technical death metal album. This is technical brutal death metal. I'm just kidding. It's a great. In all seriousness, it is a great mix of brutal death metal and technical death metal. Usually not really my thing because like it has very long songs and lots of interludes, but it's great. It's not like too focused on just showing off. It definitely has content in the songs. It's great. A lot of
Nice.
Egyptian like imagery because like that's their whole thing. This is probably my favorite
Mm,
Nile album. I could have went with a few from this decade, but ultimately this one I went with. So number 13, Black Seeds of Vengeance by Nile.
nice. Yeah, I
Nice.
might I might have heard of that though. I don't know. Okay, moving on to number 12, second one from this year from 2001. This is Lateralus by Tool. This is my
Hmm.
favorite album by them, I would say. Um, Again, kind of the same deal, like why it's like in this range is like the last one I picked, Songs for the Deaf, is because again, some great hits, which are undoubtedly some of their best songs, some great deep cuts as well. But again, there's some that you can skip. But then again, I think that can be said with every album that Tool has made. Even if you're a hardcore Tool fan, there's just some songs that contribute to the album well, but they don't really do a whole lot in terms of like, wanting to like listen to it like and click on one song and then just be good with it. But then again, I will admit that's like kind of what their goal is. They're not trying to like make you listen to one song at a time. They're trying to like, make an album here. So like I get it, but again, if we're combining all the songs on the album, like that's why it can't be higher for me, but it's still a great album. I think that's why it comes in at 12.
Nice. So for me, coming in at number 12, we have Have a Nice Day by Bon Jovi from 2005. This one has quite a few songs I really like. It was my favorite album of that era of the 2000s Bon Jovi, but I decided it's not today, so there's another one coming up. Spoiler alert. But my favorite songs on here are the title track, Welcome to Wherever You Are, Bells of Freedom, Complicated, Story of My Life. There's just a lot of really good songs on here. I love them all. So, it's a really fun album for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really good album. Okay, so number 12, I have Take This to Your Grave by Fall Out Boy. So this is their debut album. It's my favorite Fall Out Boy album from the 2000s, and so it flows together really well. It's like the guitar riffs really good, drumming pretty energetic, and then my favorite tracks are Dead on Arrival, Calm Before the Storm, Tell That Mick He Just Made My List of Things to Do Today, and Grenade Jumper. Typical
That's a
pop
fun
punk
title.
song titles, but yeah.
At number 12, I have ObZen, however you want to pronounce it, by Meshuggah. So normally I don't really like gent. I feel like it's become very oversaturated, especially nowadays, where pretty much every new prog metal band is either doing really long, boring stuff or they're just doing gent. It's one or the other. But Meshuggah are like the originators of gent, and they're probably the one band that does it well. Basically, what this album is, it's basically just jazz like type, like chords and riffs, but like played in metal. I feel like that would be a good way to describe it. Anyways, obviously, Bleed, the big hit, is on this album. Great song. Combustion's very good. Electric Red's good. The Spiteful Snake, the title track. It's a very good album. Very consistent. I don't feel like they have a bad album. I just decided to go with this one. A few other ones could have also made it.
Okay. So moving into 11, the one that just missed top 10 for us. I know this will be higher for one person in particular on this list, but from 2008, this is Revelation by
Nice,
Journey.
nice.
I can't put this higher because again, it ranks it's only like at the midway point in their discography for me. I mean, depending on how many albums they have, it's my eighth favorite by them. Um, it definitely could be like number 7 over time. We'll see. I guess really just depends on like how Freedom and Revelation for me at least just compare over time because that's my 7th. But this one is pretty great. That's why it's already this high on my list. I wouldn't put it in the top 10 though, just because I think some bands did have their best album. And this, again, like I said, it's my 8th favorite album, but it is by my favorite band, so that does give it that little extra boost. The first 2 songs on this are phenomenal. I think they can compare with a lot of what they did back in the day. Might be an unpopular opinion. Never Walk Away is a great rocker. Sounds like something they would have done in the 80s. And then also like a Sun Shower. Sounds like honestly one of their 70s ballads, which is why it's my favorite because their 70s ballads are like, if you want to consider Lights a 70s rock ballad, that's fine. But I prefer Lights to their 80s ballads. So that's just my opinion. But that's also the reason why I liked this one. That's my favorite song. But the rest of the album is also really consistent. There's a nice instrumental on here that's also really works well. That I actually do think that you can play in the context of its own song without like the other songs on the album being played after or before, which is nice. So very consistent.
Coming in at number 11 for me, I have
Oh wait,
Go
never mind.
by Newsboys from 2006. I think this is my third or fourth. I think it's my fourth favorite album, but fourth or fifth favorite album by the band. But it's really close. I really like it. My favorite songs are Wherever We Go, Something Beautiful, Secret Kingdom, and I Am Free.
Nice.
Nice.
All right.
Yep.
So number 11, I have 21 Pilots by 21 Pilots from 2009. This barely counts as a 2000s album, but technically does because it was released like
That's
December 29th, 2009. So fun fact.
Wow.
But anyways, so I mean, they've like this band has just grown on me a ton recently, and it's not one of my favorites, but I still love it. And it's more toned down and like focused on the piano, which is like really interesting and really cool. And like there's great lyrics with like deep meanings. I mean, it's 21 Pilots. I love their lyrics, and it focuses on
same.
some different things like faith, religion, and mental health. And then like the vocals are definitely not as strong as later albums. Like they improve later on, but
Yeah, no, it's his worst vocal set easily,
yeah, I mean
but
even then they're still pretty good.
it doesn't
So
sound terrible.
yeah, and also I will say like drums aren't as present because Josh didn't join until later. So, like, it
Yeah,
still definitely feels like 21 Pilots, but they improve later on. But anyways, my favorites are the Pantaloon, Johnny Boy, and then Friend Please.
Very
nice.
cool.
This album
Nice.
did not make my list, but it was really close. It was at like 16, I'm pretty sure, so it was like that close. The reason it didn't make my list is just again, it's my least favorite album by the band. The vocals aren't as strong, like you were saying. But
Yeah.
also I feel like it's their least diverse album probably just because a lot of it's mostly piano and drums. There's not really much bass here or guitar or any other instruments, but it still sounds pretty good overall. Like I
Hmm.
have nostalgia with this album like I do for all their albums, but I definitely think that Tyler Joseph is one of the vocalists that improved over time, which I don't think you can say that for a lot of people because as they get older, their voice kind of generally doesn't
Yeah.
get better.
I think he found his voice a little bit more and what he
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to.
kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very
Yeah.
good pick.
Nice. Number 11, I have those ones loyal by Bolt Thrower. This is their latest album. They haven't released anything since, but yeah, I
Wow.
think this is honestly their best album, which is kind of controversial because a lot of people seem to like their debut and then Fourth Crusade, but this is my favorite. I don't know, I just like the vibe. I feel like it's very consistent. And my favorite songs are probably The Kill Chain, Entrench, the title track, and Granite Wall are pretty good.
All right. Moving on to the top 10. This should be interesting to see what everyone put in. Obviously, a lot of great picks between the 15 and 11 spot, but as we're coming up to the number 10, this also, like Christoph was saying for his, this barely counts as a 2000 album because it was literally in the year 2000, not 2009, but
Hmm.
2000. So this is, Nick already mentioned this, but White Pony by Deftones. Probably easily my favorite album in this genre because it's a great album, but I despise a lot of what this genre does, new metal. I mean, some people don't consider them new metal,
Agreed.
but they're new metal. They just people don't want to call them that because there's so many garbage bands in the genre. But there's a lot of great songs here like Digital Bath, Passenger. Passenger might be my favorite song by them. I don't know. Knife Party, but there's a lot of great songs. Not a ton of skips, I would say either. So
Very
like the
cool.
last, so yeah.
It's funny.
Also,
I will.
Back to School Mini Maggot is definitely a skip in my opinion, though.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah. So keeping in the theme of albums that barely are in the 2000s, this one you don't get any more barely than this.
December 31st.
No, it came out on January 1st of 2000.
Wow.
Huh.
So anyway,
Huh.
barely. It's this album's grown on me a lot. It's Crush by Bon Jovi from
Nice.
2000.
Nice.
I think I've decided this is my favorite from this era. Definitely grown on me. My favorites are Captain Crash and the Beauty Queen from Mars, which is a really fun name. Just Older, Thank You for Loving Me, Say It Isn't So, and of course, It's My Life, which really catapulted them back with a big hit in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm honestly not a huge fan of their 2000 stuff, but that actually I will say is a pretty good album. I do think it is their best in that decade, if I do agree with you. So I
used
agree.
to
Yeah.
think it was a different one, but
I do really like it. Personally, it's my third favorite Bon Jovi 2000s album, but I still think it's pretty good. Didn't.
I know it's number one.
Yeah, number one is The
Yeah.
Circle, but that was like it barely missed my
Yeah,
list. I
I
wanted
know.
to
I
include
hear
The
that.
Circle, but it didn't. But that's all right. All right.
Yeah. There's a lot of good albums.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, Christoph.
Yeah. So number 10, I have American Idiot by Green Day. So after like revisiting this album, it was better than I thought before. So it's a great concept album. The hits are really good, but like the deep cuts were actually like pretty good too. And like it has like some slower, more serious moments, but also some like upbeat, energetic moments, which is pretty cool to have variety. And then my favorites are Holiday, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and American Idiot. Yeah.
So the hits.
Nice. As
Yeah.
much as I don't like the band, I approve because it has the one song by them I would say that I actually love, which is Holiday. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the
Nice.
concept of it too. It's cool lyrically as well. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that I do appreciate concept albums. I have a concept album on my list, and they're really cool.
nice. Yeah.
Nice. Number 10, on a very different note, I have Crack the Skye by Mastodon. Yes, pop punk to prog. Big difference. So yeah, normally I'm not like the biggest prog fan, but if done right, I do like it quite a bit. This is definitely done right. This is definitely a big step up from their previous release because, well, it's less stonery and sludgy and more just prog and less
Mm.
boring, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think there's a single moment on this album that's boring. My favorite songs are probably Oblivion, The Czar, Divinations, Title Track. Last Baron's pretty good too. Yeah, this whole album is very good. Great guitar
Nice.
work as
Nice.
always.
Didn't know that you could be a stoner metal in the 2000s or that stoner stuff was even a thing. Because, like you said with their last release, but oh well.
Well,
Yeah.
sludge is the genre, but
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
pretty much just
That's
stoner
true.
metal. It's just stoner metal with different type of riffs.
All right. So moving on to single digits from here, I think this is the only album from this year. Actually, wait. Yeah, it is. Or yeah, okay. So the only album from this year I have, this is from 2007. This is an album that nobody knows, I can guarantee that. This is Land of Giants by Handful of Levin. Uh, this is a pretty good album. I think it's really consistent. It's an album that I actually grew up with and I kind of forgot, at least, like for a long time, but I kind of rediscovered both the band and then also just like the album like last year or whatever in 2022. Um, yeah, so great songs. I would say the opening track, Elephant, might be my favorite, but there's obviously, for me at least, a lot of great songs on this. It's definitely their best album. So
Mm-hmm. I agree with
Nice.
you. I have heard of
I
that
love the
album. I
album.
haven't heard it, but I have heard of it.
it's like very unpopular. Like it only has a couple thousand plays, I'm pretty sure. So I'd be shocked if you had even heard of it.
I've heard of it. I haven't heard it though. Somebody mentioned it at some
Oh,
point.
weird.
Yeah. So anyway, for me, coming in at number 9, we have Saints of Los Angeles by Motley Crue from 2008. In my opinion, this is a big comeback album for them because I did not like Generation Swine or New Tattoo that came before this, but I really like this album. There's only one song that's okay to me. But it's just a fantastic album. My favorites are Saints of Los Angeles title track. The Animal in Me is absolutely amazing. That's my favorite off this album. White Trash Circus, Down at the Whiskey, and Face Down in the Dirt.
All right. Number 9, I have Last Look at Eden by Europe. So this is my favorite newer Europe album. It's a different style to their
Same.
earlier albums. It's more like a hard rock slash almost like metal style, I'd say. And Joey Tempest, he still sounds great, and John Norum guitar great again. And like there's not really any like synth or anything present on here, which is totally fine. It's a different style. I do prefer like the more synth style of like Europe in the 80s and their one early 90s album, but that's all right. I still really like this. And my favorites are Last Look at Eden, the title track, Gonna Get Ready, and then The Beast.
Yeah, that's probably my
Nice.
favorite by them in that decade as well, if I had to say. So great pick.
Nice. At number 9, I have Close to a World Below by Immolation. So, this is one of they came out in like the early 90s as with most like the old school death metal bands, but in my opinion, this is their peak from it's in released in 2004. Yeah, 2004. And yeah, this whole album is great, filled with aggression and just not a single moment of boredom. Their riffs are unquestionably great. Some of the best riffs in death metal are from this album. The vocals are fierce. You can't really understand what they're saying, but like that's the point. Um, yeah, great album. My favorite songs are probably "Higher Coward," "Fall from a High Place," and "Put My Hand in the Fire."
Nice. Sounds painful.
Well, it's a death metal album. What do you think they're going to
Yeah.
talk about? Peace?
No,
True.
obviously not.
Good point. Good point.
That'd be funny though.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to number 8, I believe it is. So from 2008, I have Caged Elephant, self-titled debut. This is
Good one.
probably, I would say, my favorite album by them, although there is one in the 2010s that I don't think made my 2010s list, but who knows, my list could change. Yeah, that could be my favorite, but this one I would probably say is my favorite. I think it's the closest to like the classic rock kind of sound and like heavier stuff and guitars that they have. Their second album is kind of the same style, but I just think it's a lot less effort and more punk rock kind of. And again, punk isn't really my thing. It's not really for me. This album is just like more like in your face kind of just rock. And their other albums definitely are more like toned down, but I still really like them. But this is definitely my favorite, I would say. The first track is probably my favorite, In One Ear, which is a great song, and then obviously the hit, I Ain't No Rest for the Wicked, is great, and there's no skips on this album for me, so definitely a great album.
Ain't No Rest for the
Nice.
Wicked is an amazing song. I love that song.
Facts.
For me, coming in at number 8, the last by this band, and the only album from 2009, I think it's probably the only album from 2009 that I really like that much,
Mm,
is In the Hands of God by Newsboys. It is their last album with their first singer. I like both singers, but it's the last one with the first one. My favorites are The Way We Roll, No Grave, This Is Your Life, The Upside Dance, and My Friend Jesus, which is a hilarious song. So
All right. Number 8, I have Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. I really love this album. It's really unique, like a rap rock, almost metal album. And it's like a great combination of energetic singing, screaming, and rapping, and it works together so well. It's just so unique, like the sound to it, and like the mixing is really great. And my favorites
nice,
are In the End, just a classic. One Step Closer, Crawling, and Paper Cut.
nice.
Nice. And the reason
The
it
nice.
sounds
monster
Good
album.
the reason
album.
it sounds like metal is because, well, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good album.
But
Yeah,
anyways,
nice.
yeah, it's a great album. Almost made it to mine. Uh, Number 8, I have Lateralus by Tool, and
Nice.
yeah, this is my favorite Tool album. And yeah, I know, I'm a Tool fan. Yeah, I know, blah blah blah. One of my favorite albums ever. Very unique take on prog and mixes a lot of alternative and post metal elements. Yeah, this is great. Obviously you got the big songs Parabola, Schism, Lateralis, The Grudge. Great songs, obviously. But yeah, this is very different from a lot of metal or just music that was being created at the time.
Hmm.
And
Nice. I agree.
yeah, Maynard's vocals are insane on this album. Probably his best vocal performance from this, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah, I've definitely grown to appreciate him as a vocalist because, I mean, he's great, obviously, so.
Also, the title track is a very unique song. I don't know any other song that has that style.
Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
they're just a really unique band in general, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so moving on to the number 7 spot. This is my second album from this year so far. There will be another, a third one, but this is from 2003. This is It Still Moves by My Morning Jacket. This is probably my second favorite album by them. It's my favorite in this decade. Just barely. I would say Evil Urges from 2008 was pretty close. Probably could have even been on my list. Really. My favorite album by them is in the 2010s, and yes, that made it in my list, of course, if it's my favorite by the band. But this is my second favorite by them. It's just such a relaxing album, and like the style and everything here is like the instrumentals flow so well together. Just really beautiful sounding. That's really all I can say. It's very consistent, no skips. No clear-cut favorites because just like a lot of the songs for me are pretty close, so I couldn't just like pick a couple, I would say, because like a lot of the album is like at the same level for me. So yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
For me, these top 7 are all like it would be up there with my favorites. I consider them all like pretty perfect albums. I love every song on them. And I know this is going to be way higher on someone's list. We have from 2005 Plans by
Oh
Death
no.
Cab for Cutie.
Nice.
Nice.
It's a great album. It's my favorite Death Cab for Cutie album. I
Same.
listened to what Sarah said is probably my favorite. The Big Hit, I'll Follow You into the Dark, Brothers on a Hotel Bed, Someday You'll Be Loved, Your Heart is an Empty Room. Basically, the whole thing is Soul Meets Body. It's really just such an amazing album. And it's really just fun to listen to, and the album cover's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Nice. I agree. That almost made it. I think it was like my 16 or 17.
It's a great album.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it obviously ended up higher on my list. You'll have to see where, but
I have
yeah,
a feeling I know, but we'll see.
we'll see.
Okay. Number 7, I have Dance of Death by Iron Maiden. So the cover art is terrible, but the actual music is so good.
True.
Like, it's so weird. Like, this is like easily the worst Iron Maiden album cover, I think. Like,
By
almost
far.
almost all their album covers are really good and like are really interesting, but this one they try to do like some like animated weird thing. It's terrible. I don't know what they were
It's
thinking,
terrible, but the album's great.
but like the
It's
actual
really bad art. Yeah, the
yeah, but
art
like
sucks.
the actual music is really great. Like I don't yeah, so Bruce of course he sounds great still and the guitar also is really good. There's great riffs, great solos, the usual for Iron Maiden, just really good. And my favorites are Rainmaker, No More Lies, Dance of Death, and then Passchendaele.
Passchendaele is one of my
Nice.
favorite Maiden songs. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree with that assessment. All right, Nick.
Number 7. I'd be surprised if you guys know this, but I have the Mantle by Agalloch. So yeah,
Mm.
black metal, folk metal, post metal. Yeah, one of the few black metal albums I really appreciate. This, well, I guess it's 'cause it's mainly just folk and post metal. Anyways, this is a very calm and relaxing album that's like very melancholic and just, I guess, depressing, but it's relaxing and beautiful at the same time. Not really an album where you listen to an individual song that's like the opposite point. This is like a full album listen. It's a great album.
Nice.
However, you can't really understand the lyrics because, well, it's a black metal album, sorta.
True.
Like,
That's why I don't like black metal.
well, it's not
Same.
okay.
I have to be able
Well,
to understand what people are saying for me to like something.
it's mainly a
Yeah, I
folk
have to be
metal
able to
album.
sing along.
It's mainly a folk metal and post metal album, but it has some black metal.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You mainly listen
Nice.
to this for the atmosphere, not for the lyrics. Anyways, this is a great album.
Yeah. All right, coming in at number 6. This was close to making my top 5, so this will be the album that, was close to making our top 5. So from 2006, this is Black Holes and Revelations by Muse. Probably my favorite album by them. I think the hits on this are great, and the deep cuts are also really good. Starlight is a great song, comes on the radio every now and then. You know, oh yeah, and then the title track is obviously killer. Knights of Sidonia is a great song. I don't know why songs that start with Knights of have to be so damn good, but they do, I guess. Knights of
True.
Sidonia and Knights of Shame are both amazing songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this album is pretty consistent, not really anything I'd skip on here. I will say Absolution is maybe the slightest bit more consistent for me, but I do think this album, just like the top tier stuff is like definitely better in my opinion, for me at least it is. Obviously like Absolution could have made it on here too. Pretty big fan of this band. At least I have been over the past couple months, so yeah.
Very cool. I need to check them out. I haven't checked them out yet.
Very
I don't
unique
know.
sound.
I recommend
Pretty
checking
good.
them out strongly. They're
Yeah.
great
Oh,
band.
but wait, before anything after the Second Law from 2012 is probably
Don't
not
check it
worth
out.
your time. Yeah.
Okay. Someone just needs to remind me to check it out because it sounds pretty
The
interesting.
2015 album is not good. It has the song
Yeah.
Propaganda
Okay.
on it, which should explain a lot. Or no, that was 2018, right?
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
that's
remember.
their worst album easily. But yeah.
Anyway, coming in at number 6, barely missed my top 5. This was moved around a lot. It was at 4. It was at 5. It ended up at 6. Is my favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers album, By the Way, from 2002.
Hells yeah.
It's a really great album. I don't like Cabron like at all. And
Oh yeah, that song's
Tear
kind of a skip.
and Warm Tape are okay, but like it, universally speaking, is my favorite off here. Dose, the Zephyr song, Can't Stop, I Could Die for You, Throw Away Your Television. There's so many good songs on here, and Anthony's vocals sound really good on this album too.
Well, because he's not rapping and doing that. Oh my god, I had sex and like shit like that. But he's actually being a vocalist. He's singing. He's not like just rapping the whole time. Yeah, but that's why it probably sounds better than some of their other work vocally, at least. But he's never been like a garbage vocalist or anything
No, he
like
doesn't
that.
garbage vocals. It is a weird album cover. I don't like the album cover like at all.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
The album cover for me is just there. It exists. I don't love it or hate it.
It's one of the album covers of all time.
Very good.
It is.
But
yeah.
it came out with Californication, and I love that album cover. So
Yeah.
Fair.
but it's just a weird one. It doesn't bother me that much though. It's not like that Iron Maiden album.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That album
Yeah, I
cover
don't know what they were
sucks.
thinking there.
Good point.
Bad.
I mean, if you guys want to see a great album cover, check out Creed's Weathered album cover. I'm just kidding. That's like the worst thing I've ever seen. The worst Photoshop ever.
Checking out something from Creed. Why would you do that to yourself? Okay, moving on.
True. But,
to
like, the album cover is hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So number 6, I have Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses. So yes, this is
Awesome.
This is one of their worst albums. I mean, they don't have that many albums, but it doesn't matter. I still really
Yeah.
like it. So it's quite a different style to Appetite and Use Your Illusion albums, duh. But it's very creative and unique, and that's part of what makes it really good. I mean, it's insane how long it took to this. Axl was like way too much of a perfectionist, and I mean, he's Axl Rose. Anyways, but like, it's just very creative. So it has like some great hard rock moments, and it's also like kind of has like a new metal-ish sound, like in a good way, not like in the bad way. Not like My World, but
Industrial. It's like industrial kind
yeah,
of. That whole thing
industrial is
going on.
probably a better way to describe it. But yeah, and plus it has some
true.
really good slower songs too. My favorites are the title track, Chinese Democracy, Better, and then Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, nice. That's none of them are my favorite, but
Nice.
my favorite was later on the list.
It's definitely one of the rock albums from the 2000s. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I just think here's the reason it didn't make my list, and okay, well, not the reason why, but I just think for all the effort and years that was put into it, like it definitely could have been better. It's not a bad album. There's definitely good songs on it, no doubt. I just never would have made my list, mainly because it's probably 5th out of 6 for me in terms of their albums. Yes, I like Lies More, Kill Me. I don't care.
It's like a
to all
5
the
out
people
of 10
that
for me.
Yeah, no, it's my fourth favorite, and I really like it.
Yeah,
but
it's like a.
I just love the style of Lies, but obviously it's not as complete of an actual album as like maybe Chinese Democracy. But
Lies has patience, so that
and Used to Love Her too. Yeah.
I love Lies too. Obviously, it's my favorite band, but yeah.
Nice.
Good pick.
6, I have Night is a New Day by Katatonia. Normally, I'm really not much of a doom metal guy, but this is a big exception, mainly because it's not that much doom metal. It's mainly alternative metal, but has doom metal elements. That's kind of the only reason. Anyways, this is it's very different from their earlier Death Doom stuff. This is, in my opinion, their best album, like by far. And they focus, I guess, more electronics and synths into this album, and it's still kind of it's filled with lots of sorrow and melancholy, but like it's still kind of a fun album to listen to at the same time. I guess it's kind of similar to like I would describe it as if Death Cab for Cutie were a metal band. That's kind of a good.
Okay.
That's quite the combination.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I guess that's how I would describe it. My favorite songs are probably Forsaker, Idle Blood, Onwards to Battle, and Inheritance. But really, the whole album's great.
Nice. Yeah, I have a hard time imagining if they were a metal band because even their hardest stuff barely counts as hard rock. But yeah,
Well, because it's not,
um,
they're not really that heavy at least this album
yeah,
isn't. It's mainly
in
just
terms
considered
of
metal because of their
metal,
early stuff.
got it. All right, so top five for me mostly could have gone in a lot of different orders, but yeah. So from 2003, this is my favorite album from that year. This is Transatlanticism from Death Cab for Cutie. Spoiler alert, I have another one higher up. But this one is almost as good as my favorite album by them, which is Plans. That's my favorite album by Death Cab, which
Same.
these two are pretty close though. So like
It's
obviously
very
not a ton of
close.
breathing in between. Yeah, this one's more straight hard rock, but the other one definitely has so much appeal to like emotion and like nostalgia and just like all like yeah, all that stuff. And also just like it's more diverse. This is a great album. There's probably like a lot of songs on here that I could list as favorites, but The New Year's a great song. What else? Sound of Settling is pretty cool. You have Title and Registration, one of my favorite songs by them, maybe my favorite on the album. The title track is phenomenal. Expo 86 is an underrated deep cut. And then the acoustic stuff towards the end of the album is also really great. So, like, very consistent album. Nothing on here I would skip. Great record. My second favorite album by them, probably.
Same.
Nice.
Yeah, so coming into the top five, I love all these albums a lot. This is a more recent favorite of mine, I would say. Like I knew songs off of it, but hearing the whole album, and it is from 2004 and is Hot Fuss by The Killers.
That's a good album.
Nice.
Yeah, really. So favorites, literally the first six, like all of those are amazing. Jenny was a friend of mine, Mr. Brightside, Smile Like You Mean It, Somebody Told Me, all these things that I've done, Andy, You're a Star. And then the other favorite is the one it ends on, which is glamorous indie rock and roll. It's a really fantastic album, and I wasn't expecting it to be that great, but it's just it's this kind of music done well because it's not always done well.
Yeah, I can see that.
All
Yeah,
these things that I've done is my favorite off of the album anyway.
Nice.
yeah. Great album. Yeah, it was pretty close to making my list, probably. Great album.
Yeah.
All right, Christoph.
Okay. So, number five, I have Corporate America by Boston. I really love Boston, and while this is their worst album, I still really love it. And Boston's grown on me a ton. So basically, it's not as good as their earlier albums, and yeah, it's their worst. It's a different style. It's a lot more toned down and softer than like their earlier music, and has like I describe it as like a quiet sadness kind of. And plus, this like the last album that was released before Brad Delp committed suicide, which is really unfortunate. But anyways, so Brad Delp's vocals are
Mhm.
great, and then he's also joined by several other vocalists that do a good job, and they like blend together the vocals, and that works pretty well. But the next album improves on this, in my opinion. And so Tom Schultz's melodic guitar is not as present here, but still pretty good. And then there's several songs on here I love a lot, but then also several that I'm like they're good, but they're not that good. But as a whole, I still really like this album.
Nice.
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 On that note, is one thing I will say is it's weird because like that album has like no matter what streaming service I've used, and I've used a couple over the years, it's never had that album, so I have no
Oh
clue what that
yeah, I
album
know.
sounds like. But I'm gonna make a joke is that everybody that I've ever seen review that album really hates that album. I don't know why. I can't tell you anything on it because I've never heard it. But I'm just wondering if they don't have it on streaming because so many people dislike it. But I
No,
wouldn't
it's
know.
it's something to do with like the record label. I don't know. They had some issues,
Oh,
they
Because it
disputes.
was because people didn't like it, so it didn't sell enough, so they thought it wouldn't be worth to put it on there.
No,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
why, but
Well, that's what I was
okay.
that's what
thinking,
happens a
honestly.
lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, also I forgot to say my favorites, but my favorites are I Had a Good Time, Someone, Didn't Mean to Fall in Love, and You Gave Up on Love. So yeah.
Nice. A lot of love
Nice,
songs.
All right, and then
nice.
Nick.
Number five, I have From Mars to Sirius by Gojira. This
Oh,
is easily my
nice.
favorite Gojira album, easily one of my favorite metal albums. I'm surprised it only made it at number five. Now, I'm re-looking at it because I've listened to it so much, but Yeah, this is definitely something. The riffs, that's all I gotta say. The riffs are like some of the best riffs ever made, in my opinion. The vocals are great. The drumming's insane. The bass is great. Yeah, this album is full of energy and it's great. It's a concept album too. I'm not entirely sure what the concept is, but I just like the songs. Ocean Planet is a banger. Obviously, Flying Whales is good. Backbone, Heaviest Matter in the Universe, Global Warming, monster of an album.
Nice. Yeah, Gojira's really good. Um, okay, so moving on to number 4. I don't know how many people, like when they're watching this, at least have hated any of my picks, but I can guarantee you a lot of people are gonna hate my pick. I don't know if anyone here will, but people watching will, just because they probably don't know the album too well, but they probably know the band and they're just like, fuck that shit, which I understand because I don't like this band aside from this album really. From
Oh, I know what
2000
this album is.
from 2002, this is Songs About Jane by Maroon 5. And yes,
Nice,
Maroon
nice.
5
Great album.
yes, Maroon 5 is not a very good band. At least most of their stuff isn't anyway.
Horrible
Their
band
second album,
besides this album. Yeah.
well, their second album was pretty good. It's a similar style, just not done quite to the extent of this, I would say, but it's also in the 2000s. So this is their best 2000s album. This is definitely their best album.
I agree.
No doubt about that because it has some of their hits. It actually has hits by Maroon 5 that are good songs, like which is rare to say about them
No
because
way.
a lot of their hits, I know. And also the deep cuts on this are really great as well. It combines so many styles. This is definitely his best vocal performance easily, I would say. There's no auto-tune on this album, which you can't say for like just about any of their other albums.
Good point.
Sadly.
I really wish they stuck with this style. I really wish they didn't sell out. This album is phenomenal, but their other stuff, I agree with you. I do not like it, really, for the most part.
Everything after and including Overexposed is unlistenable garbage. But this album's pretty good. Yeah.
I really like Overexposed just because I have nostalgia to
I
it. But
despise that album.
I know,
say
but
this?
Songs About
I
Jane is still
don't-
their best for sure. It's a really good album.
Can I say one thing? I don't totally despise really any of their albums except for these two. Their 2017 album, I do despise that, and their newest album came in.
Yeah.
Their newest album is literally just a hip hop album. It sounds like complete dog shit. I would never listen to that ever.
Definitely
It's
understandable.
horrible. It's easily
Okay.
their worst album.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I love Songs About Jane. It barely missed the album. It barely missed the list. It almost made it in there, but I agree with all you guys are saying. There are a couple of songs I like here and there after that album, but that's the whole
same.
album that I like. So anyway, coming in at number 4 for me, I honestly really wish this could be higher. Like anyway, it could be higher, but I'm a sucker for supergroups. So coming in at number 4, we have Audio Slave by Audio Slave.
Yes,
Nice.
someone else put it on the list. Let's go. I thought I was going to be the only one to put this on here.
It barely missed my list, unfortunately.
I absolutely
Boo.
love this album. This album is amazing. There are no skips. There are no bad songs. It is incredible. It's another weird album cover. It's cool though. It's fine. It's just an odd one. It doesn't really make any sense. My favorite song off this is the deep cut Getaway Car, and I also Like a Stone, I Am the Highway, Gasoline. Like literally all of these songs are amazing. Cochise, however that's said, I probably butchered it. It's a fantastic album. Chris Cornell is incredible. I mean, it's
Chris Cornell.
Amazing.
Self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's Chris Cornell, and I love supergroups. So
Great album.
rock supergroups. Of course, I was gonna love this.
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff he's done in terms of like being in bands, like he literally just makes any band like better. That's a supergroup, or he just like either like he just does so much good in so many different like groups with so many different people backing him up. Like,
oh yeah, I agree. This was
True.
like I think my 16 or 17 or 18. It was like one of the I was arguing between that and a few others, but
nice.
Yeah, no, it's a great album. The
amazing
only thing I don't like Chris Cornell did was he covered Patience by Guns N' Roses, and I didn't like it very much. Otherwise,
well, that doesn't fit the style of it, really. But yeah,
no, it was weird. It was not good.
Yeah,
but then again, I will say this. On the contrary, Axl Rose covering Chris Cornell also sounds like shit. So,
well, Axl Rose covering almost anyone sounds bad. with a few exceptions from like their earlier stuff.
No, there's a lot of great covers. But
I'm mainly
people who
referring
are
to the Spaghetti Incident.
But like
Yeah.
I'm saying, like I was talking about the one Big Dumb Sex. There's no way you could tell me that Axl Rose does that song better than
Oh no,
Chris
he does
Cornell.
not.
Right.
Yeah.
People who aren't grunge covering grunge just sounds odd.
Sounds bad. It sounds pretty
But-
bad.
True.
Also, I can't see any people from grunge covering some 80s rock or stuff like that. That would feel really
Yeah.
off too. So
Well,
Yeah.
I could maybe see. I could maybe see someone like Lane Staley, but like, yeah.
Yeah, true. Because he actually can do more of the melodic stuff really well.
Also, you have to
Right,
start it
and
in like a hair metal band. So
True. And Lane Staley, I think, literally wanted to call Facelift Guns N' Roses or something like that. So he was a big fan of the 80s stuff,
yeah,
but he didn't. He tried to give their first tape to Axl, actually. So
Interesting.
he was a fan. But
Interesting.
anyway, yeah.
although
Yeah.
the best cover of a grunge song has to be that Puddle of Mud cover.
No.
Anyways, yeah, that's a really good album. So, number 4, I have The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. So this has just gotten better the more I listen to it. It's a really great concept album. It's one of my favorite like albums in the style of like emo / pop punk, whatever. So vocals really powerful, a lot of emotion. The drumming, guitar is so energetic, great. I love it. Guitar riffs are really good. And as a concept album, it's really interesting, flows together really well, and it goes into like different deep topics like death, depression, that kind of fun topics, you know. And then my favorites are Welcome to Black Parade. The build up in this song and like the piano is amazing. And then Dead, and, like this starts off the album with like a bang with like a really just great riff, and then The Sharpest Lives and Famous Last Words too.
Nice.
I definitely think that I hated on them way too much because there's this one song that keeps coming up in this like song pop quiz thing or whatever that I keep hearing over and over again, and it's honestly not that bad. It actually sounds quite decent. It's kind of catchy. I'll admit.
Yeah.
So like,
I think I know which
yeah.
one you're referring to. Yeah.
Wait, is it the
Yeah,
title
this is-
track?
Yeah, the title track. Welcome to
Welcome
the
to
Black
Black
Parade.
Parade. Yeah,
That's my favorite
this
Yeah,
is
I
MCO
actually-
song.
probably
Nice, that's a good song.
the one emo pop punk album that I actually like.
Yeah,
Pretty much,
Nice.
this is the only one.
it's one of
Or
my
I
favorites,
guess
if
you
not
could
my
Stuff
favorite
by
style.
Green Day, but like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big
Nice.
fan
I
of
don't
the
really
style,
consider them
but
pop punk.
it's kind of it's more sophisticated, I'd say, than a lot of other pop punk. So, you know.
Yeah,
Nice.
true.
Yeah,
Anyways,
the most pop punk's like, well, my girlfriend left me. I'm sad. Okay, anyways.
you're not wrong.
It's high school. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, anyways. At number 4, I have Ghost Reveries by Opeth. Spoiler, this is not the only one. But yeah, Ghost Reveries by Opeth. Probably like my third favorite Opeth album. Yeah, this is really when they started to like go more into that like progressive folk type sound. Although this definitely still has some heavy moments. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this has great song. Obviously, this has Ghost of Perdition, their biggest song, I think. Banging of the Hounds is great too. Reverie, Harlequin Forest, Isolation Years, Grand Conjuration, Beneath the Mire. The whole album's great, and yeah, this is definitely a pretty dark album too, with like the topic. It's also like more meaningful than a lot of metal albums released around this time.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, this top 3 was really tough for me. I kept changing a lot of these around because they're all my favorite album by the band. So from number 3, this was really close to my number 2 and my number 1 because this is definitely my favorite album by them. It's probably the only album where I would say it has no skips by them because there's usually at least one skip per album by this per album by this band. So from 2002, this is, by the way, by Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is their most melodic sounding album, and obviously I like melodic sounding stuff, so that's why it's my favorite. But also the hits on this, there's so many hits, but they're all really good. I was surprised when I was like listening to it like a long time ago that like there's that many hits on this album. And like also I have so many like memories hearing this album, like going on like drives and stuff, not like specifically the album, but like just songs from the album because it was like pretty popular, obviously. Can't Stop is one of my favorite songs by them. Might be my favorite, I don't know.
Great song.
Throw Away My Television is a great song as well. Dosed or Doused or whatever, however you pronounce it,
Ghost.
is
Yeah, Ghost.
yeah, yeah, great song as well. And then there's a lot of other great hits on here, and my brain's probably forgetting a lot of them because that happens a lot when I'm talking about these albums. But I was gonna say that the last track, track 16, is like really, really great and creative. Venice Queen. It's not one of the hits on the album, but it's a great song as well. So yeah.
Very cool.
Also, the title track is phenomenal as well. So
Nice. Coming in
Nice.
at number 3 for me. This album, Christoph, you mentioned this previously. Took a while, not the most popular thing. Chinese Democracy by Guns N'
Nice.
Roses from 2008. I love this
nice.
album. It's a go-to album when I just kind of just am chilling. Favorites? My favorite is This I Love, then There Was a Time, and the title track, and Better, I would think. But
Nice.
my favorites kind of change around depending on mood. So I love it all. Some of it grew on me, but it's a really good album. And I really want them to put out more music.
Same.
Yeah, I do too, and not because I think it would be good. I honestly don't know if it would be good or bad. Honestly, I really don't know because they haven't released stuff in so long. I just am curious to hear what it would sound like, really, because like, obviously, like you said, Chinese Democracy doesn't sound like any of their other stuff, which all is kind of it doesn't, not that their other albums blend together, they definitely do not, but like they all have like that more classic sound, and this is more like you guys were saying industrial. I don't remember who
Yeah.
said that, but
Yeah.
I kind of
I'm
agree with
actually,
that.
I'm actually,
But regardless, this is a great album. And I really love it. I just wish they'd done something better with that album cover. I know they had a different plan, but the one they went with is odd, but it's definitely unique. I don't know another album like it, so.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
Yeah. So number 3, I have Brave New World by Iron Maiden. So this is just an amazing comeback for Iron Maiden. I do really like the Blaze Bailey era. Unpopular, even though I still agree it's their worst. But this album is clearly better, and it's one of their best albums overall, honestly. And Bruce, again, he sounds amazing as usual. Songs have great lyrics. There's a lot of like long and like complex songs, which is cool. The riffs and guitar solos are amazing too. And then my favorites are the title track, Brave New World, The Wicker Man, and then there's like several other tracks that are like pretty much equal that I could list for favorites. So yeah, it's really a great album.
I
Mm.
agree. This is
Nice.
like my third or fourth favorite album by them, and yeah, this has some of their best songs ever. Definitely a
Yeah,
huge comeback. This is one of the best metal albums of all time. And it's ironic that you have it at 3 because at number 3, I also have Brave New World by Iron
nice,
Maiden.
nice.
Nice.
Pretty much the same thing Christoph said. I can't really say anything that hasn't been said by me or Christoph already. But my favorite songs are part of The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator, Brave New World, Blood Brothers, and The Nomad's pretty good. Honestly, the whole album is great.
Yeah, it's tough to pick a favorite because I love almost the whole album. So
Same. This definitely has some great sing-along moments.
yeah, definitely.
Nice. Didn't make my list, but definitely a great comeback. Definitely better than anything they did in the 90s, in my opinion. But that's just
For
me.
sure.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
especially the Blaze Bailey era, which honestly,
Yeah.
I know you said you love. It's all right, but
The
it's
best album
definitely
is
their worst.
87, in my opinion.
Yeah. Um, okay. So, top two. This was really close to me. Um, both my favorite album by the band. One that would say a lot because one of them has like quite a bit of albums by now, which is surprising because it doesn't even feel like they've been around as long as they have. And then the other has only 3 albums. So this was really tough. Both are my
I know
favorites,
what they are.
but from 2002, this is Audio Slave's self-titled
Nice.
debut. This album is just great. Like it has so many different vibes. There's some stuff that just sounds like almost Rage Against the Machine type moments that kicks ass like Cochise.
Maybe it's
But there's
because it
also
has members of Rage Against the Machine in it. I know, crazy.
yeah, I
Good
don't need you
point.
commenting on that. And then there's also some like really great melodic stuff that clearly was probably more written by Chris than like the actual members of Rage Against the Machine, like I'm the Highway, which is probably my favorite rate or not Rage, sorry, but Audio Slave song. And then also Show Me How to Live is a great song. Getaway Car, Gasoline, Set It Off, Show Me How to Live. Really just the entire album is so consistent. So many different vibes from all these songs. Great riffs. I actually prefer it to anything Rage did. And that's saying a lot because Rage made some killer albums. But this album is just, it blows me away. It's like Rage, but with Chris Cornell, which is like great combination of the two. So just probably one of my favorite albums in general, but especially of this decade. So
Yep, I
Nice.
definitely agree. I love that album. So it was number 4 for me. But
yeah.
coming in at number 2, I was not, when I checked this band out, I was not expecting to like them. It was only because I bought the book, and this was a soundtrack made for the book. It's a concept album. We have 2007's The Heroin Diary soundtrack.
Oh, I knew it.
By 6 a.m. This album is fantastic. I could listen to this album over and over and over and never be bored. It is absolutely a desert island album for me. So it is a concept album, so some of the little tracks that kind of set songs up may not be my favorites, but oh gosh, favorites on here are Accidents Can Happen, Tomorrow, Girl with Golden Eyes, Pray for Me, Life is Beautiful, Van Nuys. Really fantastic album. I love every album they did, and I'm really glad they ended up making this into a band, because this was just supposed to be a soundtrack for a book. So, fantastic album.
Nice.
Love this one.
Okay. So, number 2, I have Arrival by Journey. This is one of my favorite Journey albums. I know, very unpopular opinion, but
Yeah, for good reasons.
Yes, it is.
yeah,
There are 80 some triumphs by far.
agree to
yeah,
disagree,
move on.
but anyways. All right. So it's just great vocals, guitar, keyboards, melodies, and harmonies. I mean, it's Journey, of course. It's really unique sounding. It sounds different from the earlier albums, kind of, and it's just really good. It has my favorite Journey song, Higher Place. Again, very unpopular. I know that. It's just really unique. There's no other Journey song like Higher Place, and the rockers are the best on here. And I do still really like the ballads, but like the rockers is where this album really shines. And my favorites are Higher Place, To Be Alive Again, World Gone Wild, and Nothing Comes Close.
Nice. Wait,
Nice.
did you mean Higher Place is really unique or the album is?
Well, both.
I don't think the album is unique. I actually think it's probably one of their more generic albums, but Higher Place is very unique. I
Yeah.
agree.
Nice. At number 2, I'm surprised it's actually this high, but now that I rethink about it, it makes sense. I have With Odin on Our Side by Amon Amarth. This band and this album have really grown on me recently. This album is probably one of the most fun metal albums of all time. Definitely the most fun death metal album because, well, metal death. Anyways, I really love the Viking like imagery and like themes. It's just really fun. Anyways, I can pretty much list every song, but my favorites are Valhalla Awaits Me, Roots to My Memory, Loki's Treachery, Gods of War Arise, Cry of the Blackbirds, Prediction of Warfare. I could list the whole album, but those are probably my favorites.
All right. So number 1, like I said, anything from the top 5 definitely had a chance, and especially the top 3 as well. I love all 3 of those albums almost equally. This is my favorite album by the band. That's saying a lot because I think they have like 10 albums now out. This is from 2005. This is Plans by Death Cab for Cutie. I just think that it is probably their most unique album in terms of like, sounding different. Transatlanticism was obviously close. That's my second favorite by the band and was I ranked it at 5th, the 5th spot. So just the brief run through the track list, Marching Bands of Manhattan, great opener. Yeah. And then Soulmate's Body is a great song, like kind of a hit at the time, at least I'm pretty sure it was. Not obviously you don't hear it as much as another hit on this album. But this is definitely my favorite song by them. I just think that like the chord progression, like it's one of my favorite like acoustic songs that doesn't actually sound like if that makes sense. Like a lot of acoustic songs just are like kind of like strumming along, but this is just like it's rocking but with acoustics kind of, which is
Totally
interesting.
agree. Yeah.
And then Summer Skin is a great slower song. Yeah. And there's a lot of other great stuff on this album as well. You got What Sarah Said, track 9. That's a great song. A Brothers on a Hotel Bed, track 10 is great, also kind of slower. Crooked Teeth is a great rocker. Probably the hardest song on the album. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, obviously the main hit off of this album anyway, which isn't even one of my favorite songs on the album, but I still think it's great. I Will Follow You Into the Dark.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's just a lot of great songs here. My brain doesn't want to think right now, so I can't remember like every song. Oh wait, also different names for the same thing. Track 4 is a really great piano song as well. And just the
Hmm.
appeal to emotion here is really why I put it over like the other two. But of course, like those two could have easily made it here just as easy. So yeah, love this album a lot.
Nice.
Very
Nice.
cool. I definitely, well, it's a great album. First of all, obviously it made my list.
Yeah,
For my top five were all really close. My top three were incredibly close. It feels weird having my
true.
number two at number two because of how much I love it. But coming in at number one, I did say I'm a sucker for supergroups, so that should tell you what this album is.
Oh,
Coming,
of course, that's that.
yeah, you knew this. Anyway,
Oh, I forgot.
coming in at number one, we have Contraband by Velvet Revolver from
Oh, nice.
2004. Like Chris Cornell makes things better, I think Slash makes a lot of things better, and Duff, and
I
I
think you mean
really
Scott Weiland, but yeah,
no him too. I was about to get to him. I was gonna
yeah.
say I really like Scott Weiland's vocals. I love Stone Temple Pilots. I love Velvet Revolver. So you're combining members of my favorite band with Scott Weiland. Of course, I'm gonna love it. It's grown on me significantly. I mean, I always liked it, but it's grown on me a lot more. Going through the tracks, Sucker Train Blues is an incredible opener. The lyrics are weird as hell. They don't make any sense, but it's a really, it's a really fun song. Tapeworm Abortion and Come On and Deliver the Cow makes no sense, but it's kind of funny. Uh, Do It for the Kids is super fun. It's really, really catchy, and I really like it. Big Machine, it's got some really cool instrumentals on that, and another really catchy track. Illegal Song is fantastic. It's one of my favorites off the album. Spectacle is great. It's probably has the least amount of streams, but it's awesome. False Pieces is my favorite off this album. Just an incredible slow song. Just an incredible ballad. Headspace, Superhuman, Set Me Free, You Got No Right. I mean, they're all amazing. Slither's the big hit off this album. It's incredible. And then you end with Dirty Little Thing and Loving the Alien, which are two of my other favorites. There's not a single song that I don't absolutely love on here. So it kind of had to be number one for me, but it's incredible. Another weird album cover, though. There's a lot of those, but incredible album,
Yeah,
and definitely Velvet Revolver's best album.
nice. Yeah,
Nice.
well, obviously it's their best album. They only made like one other, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, they only two. And the other one's okay, but it's not nearly as good.
yeah, yeah, I definitely kind of forgot about that, so it didn't really make my list, but maybe it could have if I had like actually like remembered it a little more. Still not super familiar with it. I do really like that we limit it to like two albums, but I was gonna say that like if I could include a third from like one of the bands that I would have included Narrow Stairs on this list because I love that album, but yeah.
I figured you would have, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number one, I have Revelation by Journey. I love this album a lot. It's a bit more consistent for me than Arrival, and it's just a more interesting style overall. So, great vocals, of course, Arnold joining the band. Guitar and keyboards are great. The rockers are amazing. Ballad's also really good. And also, I really like how a lot of the songs they take inspiration from like earlier albums. Like, you can tell the
Yes.
influence because, like, I understand it might not be the most original album, but like the thing is they take
No, it's
influence
not.
from like great songs and great albums, so it's still great and yeah, it's still great. So yeah, and then my favorites are Never Walk Away, Faith in the Heartland, and Wildest Dream.
Nice.
Nice.
I knew that
Nice.
Yeah,
was going to be
definitely a
number
great
one.
album.
Yeah. Yeah, it made it on my list and your list, Cyrus, so.
Yeah. I do think that outside of like Neil's like 70s and 80s guitar work, I think it's probably his best guitar work on any other album. Like, even though I put
Mm.
Freedom higher than this, at least for now I did, like, I definitely think it's better guitar work, and it's definitely,
Yeah.
like, some of his best guitar work in a while. Just, like, it's so clean sounding, like, the guitar on this album.
Yeah, I really like the production.
Same. The production is, yeah, great.
Yeah. At number one, as you might have guessed, I have Blackwater Park by Opeth. My
Mhm.
second favorite Opeth album, my favorite was from the 90s. It was Still Life. Anyways, yeah, this is probably their, I guess, album with the most dark subject matters, I guess. It's got, it's got the heavy bitch from like Leper Affinity, Bleak, the title track. It's got some very heavy parts, but it also has some like more melodic and like soft parts. For example, Harvest is a great example of that. And
Nice.
yeah, the whole album is great. My favorites are probably The Drapery Falls, Bleak, Leper Affinity, Blackwater Park, The Funeral Portrait, Dirge for November, Harvest. Pretty much all of them except for the instrumental, I could say are great.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, it definitely touches some heavy topics such as death, murder, abuse, and another one which I probably can't really talk about because it's YouTube. But yeah, great album.
Nice. Yeah. Second
Really good.
second time in a row, because the 90s also applied to this, that we all had very different, very, very different sounding albums, at least for our number one. I had like a very soft album. Christoph had a very melodic album. I don't know what I'd classify Contraband is, and then obviously Nick had a very like heavier album than any of us. So definitely all very
Yeah.
different sounding albums. But I do like all the albums a
I gotta
lot.
go though.
So basically Nick had to go, but that was a very interesting list from everybody. Like I was saying, very different sounding albums, which is very interesting. I
Yeah,
don't know how
variety.
different sounding our 2010s will be. I think there might be at least some similarity. I just have like
Oh yeah.
a gut feeling on it. Like at least like if yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody
Yeah.
here knows what my favorite 2010s album is because it's also my favorite album of all time, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
no spoilers on that. We're not gonna get into that yet.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
excited to film that, especially because like
2010s is gonna be good for sure.
yeah, I love even my 15 album is like so amazing. Like I
I
could put it
agree.
higher. So
Yeah.
like yeah,
That'll
I
be
love everything in
yeah,
my
that'll be good.
2010s list. So like it's definitely the album that it's not album, but it's definitely that I have the most memories attached to. So like all these albums, there's like a
Yeah.
memory for it, or just like a feeling or an emotion or something. So it should be
That
very
makes sense.
interesting
Yeah.
to get
Yeah,
into.
but yeah, excited for that. This one was super fun. I had a really good time with it. I enjoyed the ones we had in common and then the variety of stuff on this list. So great stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. It was interesting. I'm surprised that Christoph didn't have more like pop punk or stuff that I would dislike. But
Yeah.
yeah, even the stuff that I don't like, I didn't hate. So that was interesting.
That's good.
Like, all right. Anyway, actual outro starting now. Okay, so thank you for watching. Very interesting picks as usual. Very excited to film our 2010s video. Not sure when that'll be. Probably soon. I hope at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone's picks are pretty cool to listen to and hear about. So thank you for watching.